What's happening, guys? We're back. I did quite a bit of work off camera. All right, so when I left you guys last time, we were working on the brake reservoir mount, I guess we're gonna call it. I did a whole bunch of work in the background and got it looking really nice. I took and filed all of these bottom corners off. I filed down all of the welds. Remember, the welds were really kind of grungy. I filed them all back, and then I did like a nice overlay weld, which actually turned out pretty good. It welded a lot easier this time around. I think because I wasn't trying to fill a gap and because I was working with a much smaller piece of material. I cut all the excess aluminum off, so we weren't sapping so much heat off into the block. Then I took and drilled all the holes in the back. So these three are the ones that connect into the reservoir seal bosses. Those are drilled, and then I tap those to a 1/8 MPT thread so that we can put, basically once we have an MPT thread, you can get any crossover under the sun and cross that over to whatever you want to run. So the plan is to cross those over to an AN and then probably run AN hard lines or 1/4 inch double flare hard lines. We'll see. I'm leaning to AN because I can get a slightly larger ID for the feed lines, but those are all tapped. And then I drilled these two out and tapped those to a 3/16. Yeah, 3/16 national course thread. So those will be the mounting bolts. I'll probably need some sort of a brace on the bottom here, because when we bolt this guy onto the firewall and just put 2 bolts here, it's gonna wanna flex that firewall. So I have a plan to put a really small turnbuckle underneath here to hold it up, because our firewall is angled. So we're gonna have to cut kind of a notch into the firewall, and then it's not gonna be straight. So it's gonna be a bit of a gong show to get this guy mounted up, but we're gonna kind of jump off that bridge when we come to it. We're not gonna be mounting this on the car right now anyhow, because everything has to get disassembled anyhow and make some room and whatnot. But this is looking really good. I'm really happy with this. The next step is we need to pressure test all these welds. They're not gonna be under pressure while we're running them. If you think about it, the reservoir is gonna sit on here, and then there's only gonna be probably 1 inch of fluid in it. So there's not gonna be a lot of pressure on here, but if we can pressure test these up to like 20 PSI kind of thing, and we don't get any bubbles, we'll know that they're sealed. And then if we find a little pinhole now, we can fix it. If we don't find it now, when we start putting fluid in, it might just kind of weep out, and we'd end up with brake fluid dripping all over the car constantly. So we're gonna test these first thing today. I went out and got these. I don't know, that's probably not gonna focus very well. This is a 1/8 MPT to a Schrader valve. So that'll thread into here, and then there we go. That'll thread into there, and then we can just throw a bicycle pump on there and put a little bit of pressure in there. And then I needed something to seal off this hole, so I just took a chunk of aluminum, the same aluminum that we built these out of, and I just machined a little recess in there to accept an O-ring. So that'll just fit on the top like that and form a face seal. And then I can put a clamp on here and hold that down while I put pressure on here. This seal area is only about 1 square inch. So if we put, even if we put 50 pounds PSI of pressure in here, there's only gonna be about 50 pounds of force trying to lift this off. So I think just a C-clamp on there should hold that down. We can put some pressure in here, and then squirt a little soapy water on our seam and make sure we don't have any leaks. So that's the first thing we're gonna do today. A little bit of Teflon tape to seal those threads up. No bubbles. So everything's holding pressure. That's a problem. We got one little leak on this one. We'll mark it, test the other one. No bubbles on that one. So we got one hole right here on the middle one. It's marked. That's the only issue we got. So that's pretty easy. We'll just grind that out, lay over top of it. All right, so we solved one problem and we found another. So right there is where the leak was. So that's fixed. That's not bubbling. That's good. But now, there's another one. It's not holding pressure. That was at 50 psi just a minute ago. So I guess we'll fix another one. There you are. A little pinhole. All right, and there we go. I even put one of the reservoirs on it. So that took a little bit longer than I expected it to, mainly because I found that second hole in this one. But we got those two holes all welded up. They look okay. Welding this is a little tougher than I expected, but we got her done. We got those sealed up, so we are all done. Everything's holding pressure. I ended up putting like 50 psi on it. Mainly, I was only gonna put like 5, but because it's such a small volume, just a couple of pumps of my bicycle shock pump there, and it went up over 50. So that's all done. We will still have to put some sort of support on here because the 2 bolts are not gonna be strong enough probably. And then I also have another one of these reservoir kits coming because we only have 2 of these style reservoir, and then the clutch is actually a smaller one, but I wanted them all to be the same just for aesthetics really. So that's the mount done. The next step is gonna be obviously mounting it and then doing the plumbing, but I don't have those fittings and I don't have the lines and everything to do that. So we're gonna just call that an episode. We got our mount done. We will probably leave the mounting and everything until we're ready to disassemble everything because we're gonna have to do a bunch of welding on that firewall, and I'd rather do that with the firewall off the car. So that looks good. Everything holds pressure. That's our brake, reservoir, mount, plumbing done for now. So that's the end of the episode, guys. We're gonna try to keep them a little bit shorter nowadays. I was planning on getting started on the wiring today, but we're gonna save that for next episode. So, thank you so much for watching, you guys. If you haven't already, hit the like and subscribe button, and we'll see you next episode. I'm out of here.